Welcome back, everybody. Haven't been on for a while, so I thought I'd do a video showing you guys some of my more unique and interesting records that I have in my collection. Interesting and unique doesn't necessarily mean hard to get. Most of this stuff is still pretty readily available. So I'm going to go into it now. Please leave comments, talk about what you've got, and just start the general conversation as always. So first thing I'm going to start with is this cool little 7-inch Teen Beef. It's Real Big Fish Goldfinger Split. This was released in the 90s. If you guys remember old school Mojo Records. It's pretty cool. It's got I believe a version of Take On Me. I haven't listened to this in forever. Okay, it's got Superman by Goldfinger up the junction. And then it's got Take On Me from Real Big Fish, the cover, and something else. Not 100% sure, but it's a pretty cool little piece. Had that for a long time. Next thing, the Hatebreed Under the Knife EP on 7-inch. Anyone that's familiar with Hatebreed knows that despite some of their more recent offerings, they're one of the fundamental pioneers of hardcore as we know it. Jamie Jost is still a great frontman. Nothing more to say about that. And right here is a Less Than Jake Hello Rockview 7-inch set. What was cool about this is when this album came out, I believe it was 1998, the 7-inch box set came out actually a couple weeks before the full release on CD and every other format. So I bought this just to have the album a little bit early. And it turns out it's actually pretty rare. You don't see too many of these. So now up here, we have the Wizards. I believe this was a Record Store Day release maybe a year or two ago. Anybody familiar with the Wizards knows it's the whole gang from Workaholics. It's their fictional rap group that's got a wizardry and fantasy theme to it. If you're a fan of just stupid comedy or hip-hop in general, just check this out. It might not be your cup of tea, but there's some funny stuff on here. It doesn't want to stay up there. Up next, we've got probably my favorite video game soundtrack of all time, Witcher 3. You guys, even if you're not gamers, I would highly recommend if you're just hanging out at home one day and you want some just good music to put on in the background. This album is a go-to. If you're having a gaming night with your friends, tabletop gaming, anything like that, this is usually a go-to for us. Up next, Steve Smith's Vital Information. This was a project done by Steve Smith of Journey fame. If you aren't familiar with Steve Smith, you're probably not a drummer. Most drummers in the know Steve Smith, and they know how good that guy really is. This shows off more of his chops. Obviously in Journey, he was just playing what fit the songs, but the guy is an amazing, amazing jazz drummer. So if you're into that kind of stuff, please check this out. This right here is high school for me personified. This is probably my top 3 favorite punk bands of all time, if not my favorite. Suicide Machine's Battle Hymns. This was the follow-up to Destruction by Definition, which was their major label debut. I think they had something before this when they were going under the name Jack Kevorkian and the Suicide Machines. But this album right here, they followed up Destruction by Definition, which was a ska punk album through and through. And this one adds elements of hardcore as well. I think there's 22 tracks on this. Some are very short. But a lot of screaming on this album as opposed to the first one. But there's still some stuff that would fit right in on Destruction by Definition. Complete change of pace. Snarky Puppies, we like it here. These guys have just gotten bigger and bigger over the last probably 5 years. This is a fantastic album. Pretty hard to find on vinyl now. I bought this copy at a concert. I got it signed by the full band. I also have another copy that just for collection purposes, but I might listen to it one day. I haven't listened to this at all. So up next, this was a release that just happened actually after the band had already broken up, but it's pretty cool. Safety Fires, Mouth of Swords, and Grind the Ocean. If you guys aren't familiar with these guys and you like any sort of heavy or hard or aggressive music or proggy style stuff, they might be up your alley. The two guitarists, Des and Joe, left this band, or I should say after the breakup of this band, went and started a band with Alex Rudiger from The Faceless called Good Tiger, and they have a couple releases out too that are both fantastic. Sorry about the camera work, I'm actually holding it. So I definitely recommend checking these out. The vocals might be a put off to some people. I think that would probably be the most divisive part of this album, but if you like just awesome guitar work, or divisive part of this band, but if you like great guitar work, I definitely recommend checking these out. Up next, we have an oldie but a goodie. Return to Forever's Romantic Warrior. This is basically just a fusion staple. Anybody that's in the know knows these guys. This is Al Di Meola, Lenny White, Stanley Clarke, and Chick Corea. So, yeah, check this out. This is not hard to get, but this is a must in every record collection. I searched long and hard to find this album. This album, for the longest time, was not repressed. Finally, they repressed it, and the minute I got a chance to snatch it up, I got it. It's Porcupine Tree, Sky Moves Sideways. This is basically the absolute best tribute to Pink Floyd I've ever heard by not covering Pink Floyd. The whole album is slow and atmospheric and just very, very Pink Floyd-esque. What makes this album different is in between songs there's little electronic interludes and whatnot. But if you guys don't know about Porcupine Tree, check them out. And this is the only album of theirs that really sounds like this too, so it's kind of an oddball. Their other stuff is a lot harder rock. The Midnight, Endless Summer. This is basically 80s synth pop at its finest, a la Tesla Boy, groups like that. I really do enjoy a lot of this 80s throwback stuff. So if you like this kind of stuff, or you like something that could just fit on any 80s soundtrack, check out The Midnight and Tesla Boy. But The Midnight is cool because it's laden with just awesome 80s sounding, love scene-esque saxophone riffs, which, you know, just good stuff. All right. Up next, heavier one, Last Chance to Reason. If you guys don't know about Last Chance to Reason, this is where Michael Lessard of Contortionist fame got his start. This band is just insanely good. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. It's just really good. If you like metal, prog, math rock, anything like that, just check this out. Michael Lessard's vocals on this are just as good as anything else. He's, in my opinion, probably one of the best heavy vocalists of all time. That being said, because he can also do clean as good as anybody. He sings, he screams, he does the high-pitched Chino from Deftones-esque screams, that kind of stuff. So if you like that kind of stuff, check this album out. This is pretty rare. You don't see too many of these. Now we've got another oldie. This is Klaatu. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. This is Hope. I believe at the time when this came out, 70s, this was regarded as just a Beatles ripoff, but it's so much more than that. In my estimation, this is Beatles meets Queen meets Rush. It's got elements of all those bands. It's weird, it's out there, and it's definitely worth checking out. This can be had at most record stores for $5 or under, so if you like that kind of stuff, go check this out. And all the album art's really freaking cool. Okay, up next, Hellmouth. Most of you probably are not familiar with this group. I became a fan of this band because it was a side project of Jason from the Suicide Machines. He does vocals on this. It's extremely angry, extremely aggressive, hardcore, just old school. When I say old school, 90s style hardcore, in vein of Throwdown, Hatebreed, that kind of stuff. But dare I say, even heavier. It's got elements of metal as well. Super angry, super aggressive. Might not be for everybody, but check it out either way. Okay, this is a must-own album in my opinion. This is Material Control from Glassjaw. Glassjaw was a band that started in the 90s, got big around the time that the whole emo core boom was going off with bands like Thursday and Taking Back Sunday and Finch and the whole Drive Thru Records thing. This band kind of combined that sound with the sound of like the Deftones. But in my opinion, this is their best album. A lot of people would say Everything You Ever Want to Know About Silence or Worship and Tribute, which were both great albums in their own right, but this album is just so good. I don't know what's on the back. A lot of these I just have the sleeves in. But yeah, if you're a fan of that kind of stuff, check out this album. Just the bass alone on this album sounds so good. It's so thick and chunky and just... All right. Up next, Galactic Empire, episode 1 and 2. These guys gained internet fame. I believe they're guys from all different bands that came together and did a Star Wars project. But enough said. I mean, it's Star Wars music played in a heavy metal style. Not reinventing the wheel, but still fantastic. And then these guys jumped out at me here. This is Folly, is Insanity Later. I just got this in the mail in the last week. If you don't know about Folly, Folly's a band from New Jersey that combines ska and metalcore. A lot of people might not like the vocals because he gets quite high pitched and his scream is kind of shrill, but there's no denying how good these guys are as musicians. So it's worth a listen. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So just give it a listen. Okay, I thought I had more up here, but I guess not. This is Aesop Rock's The Impossible Kid. This is probably one of the coolest vinyls I own, as far as all that window right there is die cut. I don't know if you can see that. That actually slides out. But the artwork on this album is so good, and I kick myself for not knowing who did it. But this is just that Aesop style hip hop stuff, not to be confused with A$AP Rocky, whom I've actually never heard, but every time I bring up Aesop to somebody, they say that name immediately, and I'm just going to assume he's not as good as Aesop Rock. Aesop Rock is just an awesome lyricist. Sometimes gets a little bit too convoluted for his own good, as in you don't know what he's talking about, but, the songs are fun. The production is fantastic. I highly recommend this album as well. So that's just a wrap up of everything that I want to share with you guys. I had an honorable mention of some sort, but I don't know where it went. I'm wondering if it gets stuck to another album. But it's just a really cool... There it is. It did stick to another album. Last but not least, Becoming the Archetypes, Terminate Damnation. You don't see a lot of these on record or on vinyl. This is, in my opinion, the ultimate Christian death metal record. And the fact that it's Christian, I know that'll put a lot of people off because you think Christian and death metal, I know the stereotypes, I know this and that. I'm not a religious person, but if you can appreciate good musicianship, this won't matter to you one bit. And it's not blatant. It's just good stuff. It was their debut album. It's death metal. It's got elements of other types of metal. It's got prog parts. It's just awesome, and I don't know about you guys, but the artwork on this is just killer. So I'm glad I found that to show you guys. Well, that's all I have for today. So questions, comments, whatever, always welcome. Share your record collections with me, please. And if anybody's got a copy of Block Party's Weekend in the City, I would love to get my hands on that. It's one I'm missing from my collection that I would love. So, Till next time, guys. Thanks for watching.